She said no to the Mafia King, and he lifted her chin like he already owned the answer. But what happens when the most dangerous man in Charleston is the only one standing between a broke single mother and the people coming to erase her? Cora Bennett knew what it meant to survive on borrowed time. A sleeping little girl in the next room, paint under her fingernails, rent overdue, a phone battery dying in her hand. Then one stolen painting led her into a private auction, a black SUV, and the cold gray eyes of Dominic Kane. This is not just a love story. It is a story about fear, freedom, revenge, and the moment a woman stops running. Stay until the end, because the final choice changes everything. Like this video and comment where you're watching from. Before Dominic Kane ever touched her chin in that cold private vault, before Cora Bennett learned that saying no to him could feel like stepping in front of a loaded gun, she had been standing barefoot in her kitchen at 2 a.m, painting under a flickering light bulb while her daughter slept 10 feet away. That was where the story really began. Not in a mansion, not in a ballroom, not under the eyes of powerful men who bought secrets with clean money and buried bodies with dirty hands. It began in a second-floor apartment above a laundromat in North Charleston, where the pipes knocked all night, the window never fully shut, and the smell of detergent came up through the floorboards like a ghost that had moved in before she did. Cora had taped plastic over half the kitchen tile to protect it from paint. A chipped mug held her brushes. A cereal bowl held dirty water. Her canvas leaned against the cabinet beneath the sink, because there was nowhere else to put it. She painted in silence, except for the soft breathing of her daughter in the next room. Lily was 4 years old and slept with one arm wrapped around a stuffed rabbit, missing one eye. Her curls covered half her face. Her mouth stayed open just a little when she dreamed. Sometimes she laughed in her sleep, a small bubbling sound that made Cora stop whatever she was doing and look toward the bedroom door. That sound was the reason Cora kept going, not hope. Hope had always felt too expensive. Lily was the reason. Cora dragged the brush through a line of pale gold and leaned closer to the canvas. The commission was supposed to be a restoration study, at least that was what Martin Crowe had called it when he dropped off the reference images and a roll of stretched linen. Private client. No questions. Cash on completion. He had said it with that easy smile of his, standing in her doorway in a camel coat that probably cost more than her rent. Don't look so suspicious, Cora. You're good at old light. That's all they want. They want an original copy of a dead painter's work. He had smiled wider. Rich people call that homage. Cora had needed the money too badly to argue. She had been 3 days late on rent. Lily needed new shoes. The landlord had started knocking with his knuckles instead of calling first. Every sound in the hallway made Cora's chest tighten. So she painted. She painted the gold into the corner of the canvas until it looked as if an invisible sun lived behind the scene. She softened the shadows. She aged the varnish. She made something new look like it had survived a century of dust candle smoke and grief. By sunrise, her wrists ached. By noon, Martin came to collect it. He stepped into the apartment without really entering it, as if poverty might cling to the cuffs of his trousers. Beautiful, he said, though he barely looked at the painting. Cora wiped her hands on an old towel. Then pay me like it's beautiful. Martin gave a small laugh and counted $1,200 into her palm. $1,200 is generous. For 3 weeks of work, for work nobody knows you did. Cora closed her fingers around the bills. She hated that he was right. She hated more that she needed him. Martin picked up the canvas and gave Lily a charming little wave on his way out. Lily, sitting on the floor with a coloring book, waved back with a purple crayon in her hand. "Mommy," Lily asked after the door closed, "is that man your friend?" Cora looked at the empty space where the painting had been. "No, baby." Lily tilted her head. "Then why does he come here?" Cora knelt beside her and kissed the top of her curls. "Because Mommy is very good at something he can sell." Lily did not understand. That was a mercy. 3 weeks later, Cora found the receipt. She was not looking for it. That was the kind of lie people told themselves right before their life cracked open. Martin had asked her to bring a small study to his office near King Street. The place looked more like a private club than a gallery, all dark green walls, leather chairs, brass lamps, and the kind of silence that made a person feel underdressed even when no one else was in the room. Martin stepped out to take a call. Cora waited. Then she saw the folder on his desk. Her name was not on it. That was what made her look. Inside were photographs of her painting the one he had paid $1,200 for. Beneath the photographs was a printed auction estimate, attributed to Marceline Duval circa 1891. Estimated sale price $600,000. For a moment, the words did not become meaning. They sat there on the page like something written in another language. Then her stomach dropped so hard she had to put one hand on the desk. $600,000. Her painting, her kitchen floor, her cracked mug, her daughter sleeping through the smell of oils because the vent over the stove had stopped working months ago. Martin had paid her $1,200. She heard his voice in the hallway and slipped the receipt into her purse before she could talk herself out of it. When he came back in, she was standing where he had left her. "You look pale," he said. Cora forced her mouth into something like a smile. "Long night." Martin leaned against the desk, blocking the folder with his hip as if the paper itself might confess. "You artists need sleep. You dealers need souls." His eyes sharpened just for a second. Then he laughed. "There she is, always so dramatic." Cora did not confront him. Not then. Men like Martin lived inside explanations. They had closets full of them. If she accused him, he would only hand her one and expect her to wear it. So she went home. She fed Lily boxed macaroni and apple slices. She gave her a bath in water that turned cold too fast. She read the same bedtime story twice because Lily asked in that sleepy voice Cora could never refuse. Then after Lily fell asleep, Cora sat on the edge of the tub with the auction receipt in her hand. Harding and Cole Private Auction House. Saturday, 7:30, invitation only. Cora looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. 26 years old. Honey brown hair coming loose from a knot. Green eyes too tired for her face. Paint still beneath 2 fingernails no matter how hard she scrubbed. She had spent years being careful. Careful with money. Careful with men. Careful with every door she opened and every name she gave out. But careful had not saved her. Careful had only made her quiet. The next afternoon, she found a second-hand catering vest at a thrift store on Meeting Street. It was a little too large, but black enough. She bought a white button shirt for $4 and borrowed black pants from her neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, who watched Lily when Cora took late jobs. Mrs. Alvarez looked her up and down when Cora came by that evening. "You look like trouble with a ponytail." Cora tried to smile. "I just need a few hours. You always say that when your eyes look like rain." Cora crouched in front of Lily, who was sitting on the couch with her rabbit tucked under one arm. "You be good for Mrs. Alvarez." "Okay." Lily nodded solemnly. "Are you going to paint? No. Mommy has to go see about something." "Is it scary?" Cora touched her cheek. "No, baby." Lily studied her with the strange, clear seriousness children sometimes had, as if they could hear truth even when adults buried it. "Then why are your hands cold?" Cora kissed both of Lily's hands and stood before her face could break. The night smelled like rain when she reached Harding and Cole. The auction house sat behind iron gates downtown, a restored building with white columns, glowing windows, and cars pulling up one after another along the curb. Valets opened doors for women in silk dresses and men with watches bright enough to catch the streetlights. Cora slipped in through the service entrance with 3 actual catering workers and kept her head down. Inside, the world changed texture. Marble floors, tall mirrors, amber light, champagne flutes arranged like crystal soldiers on silver trays. The air smelled of perfume, polished wood, and money that had never had to explain itself. Cora found an empty tray and held it against her hip. The uniform did exactly what she needed it to do. It erased her. No one looked at the help unless they wanted something. She moved through the crowd, listening for Martin's voice. She saw him near the far wall laughing with a woman in pearls and a man whose face looked familiar from political billboards. Martin wore confidence like a tailored suit. He raised a glass. He looked completely at home among thieves because he was one. Cora's hand tightened around the tray. She took one step toward him and walked straight into a wall of a man. The tray tipped. A champagne flute slid toward the edge. A hand caught it before it fell. Fast, precise, effortless. Cora looked up. The man holding the glass was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a black suit without a tie. His dark hair was combed back but not carefully enough to soften him. His eyes were gray, not pale, not soft, but storm gray, the kind of color that made a person think of rain on steel. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. His gaze moved from her face to the tray, then to the paint stain near the side of her thumb. Cora curled her fingers beneath the tray. "Sorry," she said. The man set the flute back among the others. "You should be." His voice was low, calm, not loud enough to turn heads, but strong enough that Cora felt it in her spine. She lifted her chin. "Accidents happen, not around me." She should have looked away. Men who spoke like that were either dangerous or pretending to be, and both kinds cost too much. But she did not look away. Something moved behind his eyes. Not amusement, exactly. Interest. Then a man in a navy suit appeared beside him and spoke quietly. Dominic. The name passed through the air like a match struck in the dark. Dominic Kane. Cora had heard that name in fragments always spoken softer than other names. The Kane family owned shipping companies, hotels, restaurants, warehouses, half the legal waterfront, and, depending on who was whispering, most of the illegal one too. People said investigations died before they reached him. Witnesses changed their minds. Judges found procedure. Politicians found donations. Dominic Kane did not look like a rumor. He looked worse. Real. He glanced once more at Cora's hand. Then he walked past her, leaving behind the faint scent of cedar-cold rain and something sharper beneath it. Cora exhaled only after he disappeared into the crowd. She reminded herself why she was there. Martin. The painting. Proof. Nothing else mattered. The auction began at 8. Guests took seats in the main hall beneath a ceiling painted with clouds that looked too delicate for the room beneath them. Cora stood near a side column with 2 other servers. She kept the tray lifted and her face blank. The first pieces sold quickly. A silver tea service, a French landscape, a portrait of a woman with dead eyes and a diamond necklace. Then the auctioneer turned a page. Lot 41. Attributed to Marceline Duval, circa 1891. A remarkable private rediscovery. Opening bid $100,000. 2 men lifted the painting onto the stage. Cora stopped breathing. Her work looked different under auction lights. Richer, older, more important than it had looked leaning against her sink. The gold in the corner glowed exactly as she had meant it to. The shadows held. The false craquelure across the lower edge looked painfully convincing. She had done beautiful work. That was the worst part. She had done it beautifully for a man who stole it. The bidding opened. 100, 150, 200. Cora searched the room for Martin. He sat 3 rows from the front face, smooth hands folded as if he had nothing to fear. The numbers climbed. 300,000. 400. 5. Cora's stomach turned. A calm voice from the right side of the room said, 600. She knew that voice before she found him. Dominic Kane sat near the aisle, one ankle resting over his knee, his expression unreadable. No one bid after him. The gavel fell. Sold for $600,000. Applause rose lightly, politely, like the room was congratulating itself. Cora lowered the tray onto the nearest table before her hands betrayed her. $600,000. Lily's shoes had holes at the toes. Cora's landlord had taped a final notice to her door with blue painter's tape. Martin had handed her $1,200 and told her to sleep. Dominic stood. The auctioneer smiled as he approached, probably expecting a handshake, perhaps a few elegant words from a wealthy collector. Dominic took the stage instead. The room shifted. Security moved, then stopped when Dominic looked in their direction. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. This painting is not by Marceline Duval. The silence that followed was immediate and sharp. Martin's smile vanished. The auctioneer blinked. "I beg your pardon, Mr. Kane." Dominic turned slightly, giving the painting one slow glance. "It is a fraud." A murmur passed through the room. Cora felt the floor tilt beneath her. Dominic continued, but not a cheap one. His eyes moved over the audience. This was painted by someone who understands old pigment, old grief, and the vanity of people who want to believe they have discovered something lost. A few nervous laughs fluttered and died. Dominic's gaze kept moving. Row by row, face by face. Cora stood very still behind the column. "Whoever made this," Dominic said, "is in this room." Cora's pulse beat so hard she could hear it. Martin turned his head. Not toward the painting, toward her. His eyes found hers with no surprise at all. Only calculation. That was when Cora understood. Martin had not just stolen from her. He had been prepared to sacrifice her if the lie cracked. Dominic's gaze followed Martin's. Cora moved before fear could freeze her. She left the tray on the table and walked toward the service corridor, not too fast at first, then faster when the kitchen doors swung closed behind her. A cook shouted something as she passed. Someone asked where she was going. She did not answer. She pushed through the loading dock door into the Charleston night. Rain had started. Thin and cold, the kind that misted the streetlights and made everything look farther away than it was. Cora ran until her lungs burned. She made it 2 blocks before she stopped under an awning and pressed one hand against the brick wall. Her phone showed 6% battery. No cash except a few folded bills in her pocket. Her jacket with her keys and debit card was still in the staff room. She looked back. No one on the sidewalk. No black cars turning the corner. Maybe she had gotten away. Maybe Dominic Kane had bigger things to care about than a broke painter in borrowed clothes. She laughed once, breathless and ugly. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Alvarez. "You coming home soon?" Cora stared at the words and felt something inside her pull tight. Lily. Everything in her life came back to Lily. She typed back with cold fingers. "On my way." The walk home took nearly 40 minutes. Rain soaked through her shirt. Her borrowed pants clung to her legs. She kept seeing Dominic on the stage, hearing his voice fill the room without effort. Whoever made this is in this room. By the time her building came into view, she had almost convinced herself that she was safe. Almost. The laundromat below her apartment was closed. The neon sign in the window flickered pink and blue over the wet sidewalk. Upstairs, the hallway light buzzed like an insect. Cora climbed the stairs quietly. Her apartment door was open. Not wide, just enough. Her body knew before her mind did. She stepped inside. Mrs. Alvarez sat on the couch, hands folded tightly in her lap. Her face was pale. 2 men in dark suits stood near the window. A third stood by the kitchen, looking at Lily's crayon drawings, taped crookedly to the refrigerator. Dominic Kane. Cora's voice came out low and thin. Where is my daughter? Dominic turned from the refrigerator. His gaze moved over her wet hair, her ruined shirt, her shaking hands. Sleeping. Cora crossed the room before anyone could stop her. She reached the bedroom door and saw Lily curled beneath her blanket rabbit tucked beneath her chin. Alive. Safe. Cora nearly collapsed from the force of it. She shut the bedroom door softly and turned back. Dominic stood in the middle of her apartment as if he had bought the air. How did you find me? He looked toward Mrs. Alvarez, then back to Cora. Martin Crow talks quickly when frightened. Mrs. Alvarez's eyes filled with apology. Cora shook her head once, telling her it was not her fault, though everything in the room felt like fault. Dominic picked up one of Lily's drawings from the small table. A purple house, a yellow sun. 3 stick figures, one much taller than the others. You have a daughter. Cora stepped forward. Put that down. He did. Slowly. Crow gave your name to more than one person tonight. Cora's skin chilled. What does that mean? It means the man who profited from your work decided you were more useful as a loose end. Martin doesn't know anyone dangerous enough to scare me. Dominic looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, Harlan Whitaker. The name struck the room silent. Cora felt her face change before she could stop it. Dominic saw it. Of course he saw it. You know him. Cora's mouth went dry. No. Dominic stepped closer. Try again. She lifted her chin. Get out of my home. Something like admiration touched his expression, but it did not soften him. I got here before Whitaker's people did. Cora heard Lily shift in the bedroom and every nerve in her body flared. Dominic lowered his voice. I need your hands, Cora Bennett. I need what you can do with paint. In exchange, you and your daughter remain breathing. Cora slapped him. The sound cracked through the apartment. One of his men moved. Dominic lifted a hand, and the man stopped. Dominic caught Cora's wrist before she could hit him again. His grip was firm, not painful, which somehow made it worse. He did not look angry. He looked interested. Careful. Cora yanked against his hold. Don't touch me. He released her. At once. That surprised her. From the bedroom came Lily's sleepy voice. Mommy Cora turned, but Dominic spoke first, quieter now. You woke her. Cora shot him a look that should have cut skin and went into the bedroom. Lily sat up, rubbing one eye. Mommy, why are your clothes wet? Cora crossed the room and gathered her into her arms. I got caught in the rain bug. Lily looked over Cora's shoulder toward the hallway. Who's here? Cora closed her eyes for half a second. A man Mommy has to talk to. Is he nice? Cora held her tighter. I don't know yet. When she carried Lily back out, Dominic was standing near the front door. He looked at the child for a long time. Not the way men looked at things they wanted to control. Not exactly. Something moved across his face and vanished before Cora could name it. Lily, still half asleep, rested her head on Cora's shoulder. Dominic said, pack a bag. Cora stared at him. No. The word slipped out before strategy could stop it. The room seemed to sharpen around it. Dominic's eyes settled on her. No. Cora's heart hammered, but she kept her voice low because Lily was in her arms. You heard me. Dominic stepped closer. Cora shifted Lily behind the line of her shoulder. He noticed and stopped before he came too close. I am not asking because I enjoy repeating myself, and I am not leaving my home with a criminal because he says it politely. Dominic's mouth curved. You think that was polite? I think you have confused not yelling with being civilized. For a second, silence held. Then Dominic leaned close enough that Cora could hear the rain dripping from her own hair onto the floor. Whitaker's men are not civilized. Crow told them where you live. He told them about the child. I can keep you here and wait for them to arrive, or I can take you somewhere they cannot reach." Cora's stomach clenched. Lily lifted her head. Mommy Cora softened her face instantly. "It's okay." Dominic watched that transformation. The fear folded away. The smile forced into place. The lie a mother tells so well that the child can rest inside it. His voice changed when he spoke again. 10 minutes. Take what she needs. Everything else can be replaced." Cora looked at him with hate hot behind her eyes. "My daughter cannot be replaced." Dominic did not blink. "No, she cannot." That answer unsettled her more than cruelty would have. Cora carried Lily into the bedroom and set her on the bed. "We're going to take a little trip." Lily blinked sleepily. With the not nice man, Cora almost laughed. "Almost. Yes. Can Rabbit come? Rabbit is the first thing we're packing." Cora moved fast. Pajamas, socks, Lily's medicine, the stuffed rabbit, 2 picture books, a sweater, the small watercolor set Lily loved because it made her feel like mommy. For herself, Cora packed jeans, shirts, underwear, a toothbrush, the receipt from the auction, and every dollar hidden in the coffee tin above the stove. When she came back into the living room, Mrs. Alvarez was crying silently. Cora crossed to her and took her hand. "I'm sorry." Mrs. Alvarez squeezed her fingers. "You call me when you can." One of Dominic's men looked as if he might object. Dominic did not turn his head. "She can say goodbye." So Cora did. Not long. Long would break her. At the door she faced Dominic. "If she cries because of you, if she is afraid because of you, if one hair on her head is touched, I don't care how many men you have or how many judges owe you favors. I will find a way to hurt you." Dominic's eyes held hers. Then very slowly he smiled. Not kindly, not fully, but as if something in her had answered a question he had not asked aloud. There she is. Outside, the rain had softened to mist. A black SUV waited at the curb, engine running, windows dark. Cora held Lily against her chest and stepped onto the wet sidewalk. The city around her looked the same as it had an hour ago. Same streetlights, same cracked pavement, same laundromat humming below her apartment. But nothing was the same. Dominic opened the rear door. Cora looked at the inside of the vehicle, then back at the building where every hard year of her life still lived behind a half-open door. Lily stirred against her shoulder. "Mommy, are we going home soon?" Cora kissed her daughter's damp curls. "Yes," she whispered, though she did not know what home meant anymore. Dominic heard her. She knew he did. He said nothing. Cora climbed into the SUV with Lily in her arms. Dominic sat across from her, calm as judgment, while the door closed and locked with a soft, final sound. The car pulled away from the curb, carrying them out of North Charleston, past the laundromat, past the apartment, past the last version of Cora Bennett, who still believed the worst thing a man could steal from her was a painting. The soft lock of the SUV door stayed in Cora's ears long after the laundromat disappeared behind them. Charleston moved past the tinted window in pieces. Wet pavement, empty sidewalks, a gas station glowing white in the rain, the dark shape of church steeples rising above old brick streets like watchmen that had seen too much and said nothing. Lily had fallen asleep again before they reached the first bridge. Her small body was warm against Cora's chest, one hand still tangled in the collar of Cora's shirt. The stuffed rabbit was crushed between them, its single button eye staring outward as if it too understood they were being taken somewhere they had not chosen. Across from them, Dominic Kane sat with one ankle resting over his knee. He had not touched his phone. He had not spoken to his driver. He simply watched the city slide by with the quiet patience of a man who believed every road eventually led where he wanted. Cora kept her eyes on the window. "Are you going to stare at us all night?" she asked. Dominic's gaze did not move away from her. "I'm deciding what kind of woman breaks into an auction house with paint under her nails and no exit plan." "I had an exit plan. You left your keys behind." Cora's jaw tightened. "I had an imperfect exit plan." The corner of his mouth moved. For a moment she hated him for noticing that. She hated the suit, the calm voice, the expensive scent of cedar and rain on him. Most of all, she hated the fact that part of her still remembered his hand catching that champagne glass before it fell. Dominic looked at Lily. "She sleeps hard. She's 4. She trusts you. She has to." That made him look back at her. Cora wished she had not said it. There were things strangers did not deserve to hear. There were things dangerous men could turn into handles. Dominic leaned back against the leather seat. Her father, Cora's eyes, stayed on the glass. "No, that is not an answer. It is the only one you're getting." Silence settled between them. The SUV left the city lights behind and moved onto a long, private road lined with live oaks. Spanish moss hung from the branches in pale strands, shifting in the rain like torn lace. Cora saw the gates first. Black iron. Tall. Controlled by cameras hidden in stone pillars. They opened before the vehicle stopped. Beyond them, the road curved through dark trees until the house appeared at the edge of the Atlantic. For a second, Cora forgot to breathe. The Kane estate rose out of the storm like something built to survive both hurricanes and sins. White stone walls, wide glass windows, slate roof shining black beneath the rain. The house sat on a bluff above the water with terraces stepping down toward rocks where waves broke white in the darkness. It was beautiful. That was the first insult. Beautiful things had a way of pretending they were harmless. The driver opened the door. Cora stepped out with Lily in her arms. Cold ocean air wrapped around her wet clothes and slid beneath her collar. Lily stirred but did not wake. Dominic came around the SUV and stood beside her. "Welcome to Blackwater House." Cora stared at the mansion. "Sounds friendly. It was named before my time. That doesn't make it better." Dominic almost smiled. "No, it doesn't." He walked ahead, not looking back because he assumed she would follow. And she did. Not because he was right. Because Lily was asleep in her arms and Cora had nowhere else safe to put her feet. Inside the house was warmer than she expected. Stone floors reflected amber light from iron chandeliers. Dark wood beams crossed the high ceiling. The air smelled of salt old books and firewood. Paintings covered the walls, not arranged like decoration, but gathered like memories no one had been brave enough to put away. Cora noticed them before she noticed anything else. Landscapes, portraits, abstracts thick with color. Some expensive, some personal. All chosen by someone with a real eye. A woman had chosen them. Cora knew that before she knew why. A voice came from the staircase. "Dominic." Cora turned. An older woman descended the stairs in a silk robe the color of smoke. Her silver hair was pinned neatly at the back of her head, and her lipstick was red enough to look deliberate at midnight. She moved slowly, not because she was weak, but because no one in the house had the nerve to rush her. Dominic's expression changed. Not softened exactly, but rearranged. Grandmother. The woman's eyes moved from him to Cora, then to the sleeping child in Cora's arms. She took in the soaked clothes, the borrowed shoes, the duffel bag hanging from Cora's shoulder, the tension in her jaw. Then she looked back at Dominic. "You brought a woman and a child home in the middle of a storm." Dominic said Ruth. That was not a question. Cora shifted Lily higher on her hip. "I'm sorry for the hour, ma'am. I did not ask to be brought here." Ruth Whitmore Kane looked at Cora again. Something sharp and nearly amused entered her eyes. "No, I can see that. Dominic sighed. She needs a room. The child needs a bed, Ruth said. The woman needs answers. She'll get both. Ruth gave him a look that made it clear she did not believe him. A woman in her 50s appeared at the top of the staircase, tying a robe around herself as she hurried down. Her face was soft, her eyes kind, but she paused when she saw Dominic. Everyone seemed to pause when they saw him, even in his own house. June Ruth said, "Prepare the East guest room. Bring milk-dry towels and something warm for the child." June nodded at once. "Yes, ma'am." Cora followed her upstairs. Every step felt wrong. The marble staircase was too wide, the hallway too quiet, the doors too polished. She passed a window and saw the ocean below, black and restless beneath the cliff. The East guest room was larger than Cora's apartment. Lily woke when Cora lowered her onto the bed. Her blue eyes opened slowly. She looked at the white walls, the high windows, the thick blanket beneath her fingers. "Mommy, I'm here." Lily sat up a little. "Where are we?" Cora knelt beside the bed and smoothed damp curls away from her face. "We're staying somewhere safe for tonight." Lily blinked around the room. "Is this a castle?" Cora's throat tightened. "No, baby." Lily considered that. "Can castles have cookies?" June smiled from the doorway. "This one can." She returned a few minutes later with warm milk cookies, towels, and a folded cotton nightgown that looked new. Cora thanked her, but the word came out stiff. Gratitude felt dangerous in a house where nothing came without a reason. After Lily drank half the milk and ate one cookie, she curled around her rabbit and fell asleep again. Cora sat beside her until the child's breathing settled into a steady rhythm. Only then did she let her own face drop. She was tired in a way sleep could not fix. A soft knock came at the open door. Ruth stood there holding a robe over one arm. "You'll freeze in those clothes." Cora looked down at herself. Rain had dried cold against her skin. "I'm fine." Ruth entered without permission and laid the robe on the chair. "Women who say that usually aren't." Cora did not answer. Ruth looked at Lily. "What is her name, Lily? How old for? Young to belong in the middle of men's business. She doesn't belong in any of this." Ruth's eyes returned to Cora. "Then you and I agree on one thing." Cora stood. The movement was small, but there was steel in it. "Why did he bring me here?" Ruth gave a slow breath through her nose. "If Dominic has not told you, then he wants you unsettled before he does." "That sounds like him. You've known him 3 hours. That was enough." Something like a smile touched Ruth's mouth and vanished. "My grandson is not gentle. I noticed. But he is not careless with children." Cora looked at Lily. "He used her to get me into that car." Ruth's face grew still. "Yes," she said quietly. "That also sounds like him." Cora expected defense, excuses, family loyalty wrapped in silk. Ruth gave none. Instead, she walked to the door. "Sleep if you can. Lock the door if it helps. It won't keep him out, but it may help you breathe." When Ruth left, Cora crossed the room and turned the lock anyway. It clicked softly. A small sound. A useless one. Still, she stood there for a moment with her hand against the door, pretending it mattered. Morning came gray and bright. Cora woke to empty space beside her. For one terrible second, her lungs stopped. "Lily." No answer. She threw back the blanket and ran into the hallway barefoot. The house was too large. Every corridor seemed to split into another. Panic rose hot and fast in her throat. Then she heard Lily's voice. Not crying, talking. Cora followed the sound to a sunlit room at the end of the east wing. A studio. She stopped in the doorway. The room faced the ocean through tall windows that filled the space with cool morning light. Canvases leaned against the walls. Brushes stood in glass jars. Tables held pigments, oils, knives, linen, and stacks of thick paper. 4 large paintings hung on the far wall, each one so alive with color that Cora felt them before she understood them. Lily stood near an easel, one hand reaching for a brush. Dominic's voice cut across the room. "Don't touch that." Lily froze. Her little chin trembled. Then she began to cry. Cora moved before thought could form. "Get away from her." Dominic turned. He had been standing near the largest painting, dressed in a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms. His expression shifted when he saw Cora, then shifted again when he heard Lily's sob catch in her chest. He crouched in front of the child. "Hey," he said much softer. "I didn't mean to scare you." Lily covered her face with both hands. Cora crossed the room and pulled her daughter into her arms. "She is 4 years old." "I know. No, you don't. People who know children don't bark at them like dogs." Dominic stood slowly. His eyes moved to the painting Lily had almost touched. "That canvas matters. My daughter matters more." His gaze returned to Cora. The room held still around them. "Yes," he said. "She does." The answer disarmed her for half a second. Dominic turned to one of the tables, picked up a clean sketch pad, and placed it on the floor beside a small tray of paints. He looked at Lily. "You can paint on this." Lily sniffled from Cora's shoulder. "Any color?" "Any color except the ones on that table." Lily looked. "Can I use purple?" Dominic paused as if the matter required real thought. "Purple seems safe." Lily rubbed her eyes. Cora hated him a little more for making her daughter almost smile. She set Lily down only because Lily wriggled to reach the paper. Within seconds, the child sat cross-legged on the floor, dragging purple across the page with solemn concentration. Cora rose and finally looked at the paintings on the wall. Her breath changed. Dominic noticed. Of course he did. "You know them." Cora stepped closer. The first painting showed a shoreline at dusk, but not like any shoreline she had ever seen. The water seemed to move even while trapped in pigment. The second was all interior shadow and a single open window. The third had no figures, no faces, yet felt crowded with grief. The fourth looked like a storm caught just before it became rain. "Vera Wren," Cora whispered. Dominic watched her. "There are only 9 known paintings," she said. "Yes. You have 4 of them hanging in a private studio." "Yes." Cora looked at him. "People have spent fortunes trying to find one. People waste fortunes on many things." She turned back to the paintings. The brushwork was strange, urgent, controlled in the places where control mattered, wild where feeling had broken through. There were no faces in Vera Wren's work. Never any faces, but every painting watched back. Cora stepped closer without meaning to. She understood captivity, she said. Dominic's expression changed. Only slightly. "Enough." Cora saw it. "You care about them." He gave a small, humorless smile. "I bought them." "That is not what I said." Dominic moved beside her. Too close, but not touching. "Tell me what you see." Cora wanted to refuse. She wanted to keep every useful part of herself away from him. But the paintings pulled at her. "She does not paint. Escape," Cora said. "She paints the second before escape. That moment when the door is open, but your body has not moved yet." Dominic said nothing. Cora continued, voice lower now. "That is why they feel unfinished even when they are complete. The viewer is trapped in the decision." She felt him looking at her, not the painting. "That is why they're worth what they are worth," she added. "No," Dominic said. Cora looked at him. "No." They're worth what they are worth because people want to own what they do not understand. And you understand them. His jaw tightened. Better than most. The studio door opened. June appeared with a breakfast tray and stopped when she felt the tension in the room. "Miss Bennett, Mr. Kane breakfast is ready downstairs." Lily looked up from her paper. "Pancakes?" June smiled. "Yes, honey, pancakes." Lily stood at once, purple paint on her fingers. Dominic looked down at the paper. A crooked house, a big sun, 3 stick figures, one tall one, small one with wild hair. He studied it like it was evidence. Lily pointed to the tall figure. "That's Mommy." Dominic's brow lifted. "And this? That's Rabbit." Dominic glanced at Cora. "Rabbit has impressive posture." Lily giggled. Cora did not want warmth in the room. She did not want her daughter laughing near him. She took Lily's hand. Breakfast. Downstairs, the dining room table could have seated 20, but Cora and Lily sat at one end, while June placed pancakes and fruit in front of them. Ruth sat near the window with coffee, reading a newspaper as if strange women and small children appeared in her house every week. Dominic did not sit. He stood near the doorway, speaking quietly with a man in a charcoal suit. The man had close-cropped hair, watchful eyes, and the tired patience of someone trusted with ugly work. Miles Mercer. Cora knew his name only because Dominic said it. "Find Crow." Dominic told him. Miles nodded. And Whitaker Dominic's eyes flicked toward Cora. "Not yet." Cora pretended not to hear. Lily ate 3 bites of pancake and sighed with her whole body. "Mommy, this is the best place." Cora's fork stopped. Ruth lowered her newspaper slightly. Dominic looked toward the table. Cora forced a smile for Lily. "It has good pancakes. It has a big bed." "Yes." "And painting." "Yes." "Can we stay?" The question slipped into the room and touched every adult differently. Cora set down her fork. "We're visiting." Lily frowned. For how long Cora looked at Dominic. He looked back. No answer passed between them, but something did. A reminder. He had brought them here. He controlled the doors. Cora turned back to Lily. "Not long?" Ruth folded her newspaper. "Children get used to comfort quickly." Cora met her eyes. "So do adults." Ruth's mouth curved. "Only the foolish ones." After breakfast, Cora took Lily upstairs to wash paint from her hands. On the way back, men carried boxes into the room beside theirs. A small bed frame, a child-sized dresser, a bookshelf, bags from expensive toy stores. Cora stopped in the doorway. Lily ran past her. "Mommy toys." Dominic came up behind Cora, silent on the carpet. She did not turn. "What is this A room?" "For my daughter." "Yes." Cora's voice went flat. "She has a room, at home." Dominic stood beside her looking at Lily as she opened a box of wooden animals. "Your home was compromised." "You mean invaded?" His gaze shifted to her. "Yes." The honesty made her angrier. "You do not get to make a cage prettier and call it protection." Dominic's face remained calm, but his eyes sharpened. "If I wanted to cage Cora, you would not have a window." She turned toward him. "And if I wanted a savior, I would not have picked a criminal." For one long second, neither moved. Then Lily held up a wooden horse. "Mr. Dominic, does this horse have a name?" His eyes stayed on Cora. "No." Lily considered this seriously. "Then his name is Pancake." Dominic looked at the horse. "Strong choice." Cora hated the smile that tried to rise in her own throat. She swallowed it down. Later, when Lily was settled with June in the new room, Cora returned to the studio. The ocean light had changed. Silver now. Clean and cold. It laid itself across the empty easel like an invitation she did not trust. Dominic was waiting. On the easel was a large mounted print covered with a black cloth. Cora stopped at the threshold. What is that? What I brought you here for. You dragged me here for a painting. Yes. At least you admit it. Dominic pulled the cloth away. Cora forgot every word in her mouth. The image beneath was of a woman running through a narrow street at night. Her coat flared behind her. One hand reached back for a little girl whose small legs blurred mid-stride. The woman's face was lost in shadow. The child's face was turned away. Across the stone beneath them, dark lines stretched like prison bars. Cora's body knew the painting before her mind allowed it. Her fingers went cold. Her father's house, the upstairs gallery, her mother crying behind a closed bedroom door. Cora, at 7 years old, standing barefoot in the hall, staring at that painting until the woman in it became a promise. Run. Run with the child. Do not look back. Dominic watched her hands. What changed? Cora forced herself to breathe. Nothing. You lie badly when you're afraid. I'm not afraid. You are. She turned on him. What do you want? Dominic stepped closer to the print. This is the 10th Vera Wren. Cora stared at the running woman. There is no 10th Vera Wren. There is. Then why does no one know about it? Because Harlan Whitaker keeps it behind locked doors. The name moved through her like ice water. Dominic saw that too. Cora hated her face for betraying her. You know him, he said. No. Dominic's voice lowered. Cora. She looked away. He did not press. Not yet. Instead, he tapped the edge of the print. You will reproduce it. Full scale. Same dimensions, same texture, same age. I will provide everything you need. Cora laughed once, sharp and empty. You want me to forge a Vera Wren? I want you to paint what I ask. And if I refuse? Dominic's eyes moved toward the hallway where Lily's laughter came faintly from the next room. Cora stepped into his line of sight. Do not look toward my daughter when you threaten me. The room went still. Dominic's face hardened. I am not threatening her. You are always threatening something. You just use a calmer voice than most men. His jaw worked once. Then he said, $5 million. Cora froze. Dominic continued. Paint it well. Finish it. Walk away with $5 million and your daughter untouched. $5 million. The number opened inside her like a door. Rent forever paid. Doctors, schools, a real studio. A life where Lily never learned how to listen for footsteps in the hall. Cora looked at the painting again. The woman running. The child. The bars. Her voice came out rough. A photograph is not enough. I have the dimensions. That is not enough. I have pigment analysis from similar works. Still not enough. Dominic stepped closer. Then you will make it enough. Cora looked at him, then really looked at him. Under the power, under the command, under the expensive suit and criminal calm, there was something else. A wound dressed as purpose. This is not about money, she said. No. Then what is it? Dominic's eyes stayed on the painting. It belonged to my mother. The words were quiet. So quiet they changed the room. Cora waited, but he gave her nothing more. He turned and walked to the door. Start today. The door remained open after he left. Cora stood before the print for a long time. Lily eventually wandered in with June and sat on the floor with her purple paint. Cora did not stop her. She picked up a brush. Her hand hovered over the palette. She did not look at the photograph. She did not need to. She remembered the blue. She remembered the shadows. She remembered being a child and wishing the woman would turn around and take her too. The first stroke went down dark, then another, then another. By afternoon, Cora had forgotten where she was. Paint covered her fingers, her wrist one streak along her cheek. Lily had fallen asleep on a blanket near the window, purple still faintly under her nails. Cora was mixing the background blue when Ruth entered. The older woman stopped just inside the doorway. Her eyes went to the mounted print. All color left her face. Cora set the brush down. "You know this painting?" Ruth's hand tightened around the back of a chair. For the first time since Cora had met her, Ruth Whitmore Kane looked old. Only for a breath. Then she gathered herself, spine, straightening face closing like a door. "I know many things I wish I did not." Cora stepped toward her. "Dominic said it belonged to his mother." Ruth's gaze moved to Lily sleeping by the window, then back to the painting. Evelyn painted what she could not say. Evelyn Kane. Ruth's mouth pressed thin. "My daughter." Cora looked at the Vera Wren paintings on the wall, then at the 10th. The truth settled slowly. His mother was Vera Wren. Ruth did not answer. She did not need to. Cora turned back to the canvas in front of her where the running woman had only begun to take shape. Outside the studio windows, the Atlantic struck the rocks below with a sound like a warning repeated over and over. Dominic had brought her here to copy a painting, but the painting was not just art. It was a grave. It was a weapon. It was a door neither family had managed to close. The studio did not feel the same after Ruth left. The room was still full of ocean light, still smelling of oil paint and linen, still holding Lily's soft breathing from the blanket near the window. But something underneath it had changed. The silence had weight now. It pressed against the walls. It gathered around the mounted photograph of the 10th Vera Wren, like a secret waiting to be named by someone brave enough or foolish enough to speak first. Cora stood before the unfinished canvas with the brush loose in her hand. Evelyn Kane, Dominic's mother, Vera Wren. The name moved through her mind in a slow circle, and every time it returned, the painting looked different. Not valuable, not famous, not rare. Personal. That was worse. A valuable painting could be stolen, sold, forged, hunted. A personal painting could haunt. She looked at the running woman, at the child beside her, at the bars of shadow across the street. When Cora was little, she had thought the woman was saving the child. She had imagined them turning the corner and finding a train station, a field, a sunlit road, with no locked doors behind them. Now she wondered if the woman had ever escaped at all. Lily stirred on the blanket. Cora turned quickly, but her daughter only rolled onto her side and tucked rabbit under her chin. A faint smear of purple paint marked one small wrist. Cora crossed the room and knelt beside her. "You're all right?" she whispered, though Lily had not asked. Maybe she was saying it to herself. Behind her, the studio door gave a soft click. Cora did not need to turn to know who it was. The air changed around Dominic Kane. It always did. The room seemed to notice him before anyone else could. "You found out," he said. Cora rose slowly. "Your mother was Vera Wren." Dominic stood just inside the doorway, dressed in a dark suit. Now the jacket open, his tie loosened as if he had put it on for business and already grown tired of whatever world required it. His eyes moved to the painting. "My grandmother talks when she is angry. She looked more sad than angry. That is how she looks when she is both." Cora wiped her brush on a rag. "You told me the painting belonged to your mother." "It did. You did not tell me she painted it." Dominic's gaze came back to her. "You did not ask the right question." Cora laughed softly without humor. "There it is, the kind of answer men give when they want to keep their lies clean. I did not lie. No, you arranged the truth so it would behave for you." Something flickered in his face. Not anger. Not quite. Recognition, maybe. Dominic stepped farther into the studio. He stopped when he reached Lily's sleeping form and looked down at her. His expression shifted before he could hide it. It was almost careful. She falls asleep anywhere. She has had practice. His eyes lifted. Cora wished the sentence had not escaped. Dominic looked at the child again, then back at the painting. My mother painted under another name because my father's world did not leave room for women to belong to themselves. Cora's anger lost a little of its shape. Your father did not approve. My father loved her. Dominic's voice was flat. That was not always better. Cora understood that more than she wanted to. Dominic moved toward the windows where the Atlantic broke against the rocks below. Morning had turned silver. The water looked endless and cold. She painted in secret for years. 9 pieces made it out. Sold privately always through someone else. She never signed her real name. She never gave interviews. Never appeared in a gallery. People invented Vera Wren because my mother left them nothing else to hold. And the 10th, Dominic's jaw tightened. The first. Cora turned toward the mounted print. The one Harlan Whitaker has. Dominic went very still. There it was. That name again, spoken aloud between them like a blade placed on a table. He looked at her. You reacted last night when I said his name. You reacted again when Ruth confirmed the painting. Cora folded the rag in her hand, then unfolded it. Lots of people react to Harlan Whitaker. Not like you. She lifted her chin. You do not know me well enough to say that. His eyes darkened. I know fear when I see it. Do you? Yes. Cora met his gaze. Then you should recognize how often you cause it. The words struck. He did not flinch, but the air around him cooled. Lily sighed in her sleep. Dominic looked away first. I have business in the city. Good. You will stay here. Cora gave him a dry look. I assumed my prison schedule was not flexible. He came closer, then slow enough not to startle close enough to make her pulse betray her. You are alive because you are here. I am here because you decided my life belonged in your hands. His voice dropped. Maybe it did for one night. The worst part was that she could not deny it completely. Martin had sold her name. Harlan's shadow had reached for her again. Dominic had been the man standing at her door, but he had not been the only danger on its way. Cora hated complicated truths. They gave cruel men places to hide. Dominic's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and whatever warmth had existed in him vanished. Stay with June. Keep Lily away from the front drive. What is happening? Nothing for you to carry. Cora stepped in front of him before he could leave. Do not do that. Do what? Decide what I can know, because it is easier for you if I stay frightened and ignorant. Dominic looked down at her for a long second. Then he said, Whitaker has stopped 3 of my shipments at the port. City permits, inspectors, judges, all clean on paper, all dirty underneath. That sounds like a legal problem. It is not. Of course not. Nothing is legal when men like you are insulted. His mouth curved, but there was no humor in it. Careful, Cora. She stepped closer. I'm getting tired of that word. I am getting tired of needing it. For one strange moment, their anger stood so close, it became something else. Cora felt it in the space between them, in the heat of his body, in the way his eyes dropped for a fraction of a second to her mouth and returned as if he hated himself for it. Dominic turned away first. I will be back before dinner. Cora said nothing. He paused in the doorway. The blue is wrong. She stared at him. What? He nodded toward the canvas. The background. It is too clean. Vera never let blue stay innocent. Before she could answer, he was gone. Cora stood in the studio furious for several different reasons. Worst of all, he was right. Downtown Charleston shone like a city built to hide rot beneath polish. Dominic's office occupied the top floor of Kane Maritime Holdings, a glass tower overlooking the harbor. Ships sat in the water below, stacked with steel containers. Cranes moved slowly against the sky. Everything looked orderly from above. That was why powerful men liked high places. Distance made control look clean. Miles Mercer stood across from Dominic's desk with a folder in his hand. 3 containers held for inspection. 2 permits reopened. 1 councilman suddenly concerned about environmental impact. Dominic took the folder and opened it. He read the first page, then closed it. Harlan. Miles nodded. He is pushing harder this time. He is bored. He is angry. He has been angry for 20 years. Miles watched him carefully, and the woman Dominic's eyes lifted. Miles did not look away. Very few men could do that and keep breathing comfortably. Cora Bennett, Miles said. You asked for everything. Dominic held out his hand. Miles placed a second file on the desk. Dominic opened it. Cora's life fit into 22 printed pages, which offended him in a way he did not immediately understand. A person like her should not be reducible to addresses debts, school records, medical bills, and photographs taken by men paid to remain unseen. Born in Charleston. Mother deceased. Father listed as unknown on public forms. Stanford Scholarship Art History and Conservation track. Withdrew 3rd year. Daughter born 6 months later. No marriage record. No active family contacts. Dominic turned the page. There was a photograph of Cora at 19 standing outside a campus building with her hair shorter and her arms full of books. She looked younger but not softer. She already had the face of someone waiting for life to swing first. Her father, Dominic said. Miles hesitated. Dominic looked up. Say it. We do not have a legal record. But private school tuition before she vanished was paid through a Whitaker Foundation account. Medical records were handled through a family office attached to Harlan Whitaker. Her mother, Elise Bennett, worked for him for 12 years. Dominic's fingers stilled on the page. Miles continued. People in his circle thought the woman was his mistress. No one said it out loud. She died when Cora was 16. Dominic looked toward the harbor. The city spread beneath him bright and obedient from this height. Cora was Harlan Whitaker's daughter. The thought settled wrong, not because it complicated the plan, because it explained her fear, and Dominic did not like explanations that made him feel late. Miles said, You want me to keep digging? Yes. There is more. Lily's father disappeared from public records 2 months before she was born, moved to Arizona, new job, new apartment, paid in cash through a shell company tied to Whitaker. Dominic's face went blank. Miles knew that expression and stopped talking. Dominic looked back at the file. Cora at 19. Cora at 26. Lily in a blurry playground photo from months ago, likely taken by someone else's investigator before Dominic ever knew her name. His hand closed around the edge of the folder. Find out who took that photograph. Miles nodded. And after that, Dominic looked out at the harbor again. Find out if Whitaker still thinks he can touch what is in my house. The garden at Blackwater House was full of late afternoon light when Dominic returned. He found Lily before he found Cora. The child was crouched near a bed of white flowers, whispering to a beetle on a leaf. June sat nearby with a book in her lap, though she was watching more than reading. Lily looked up and spotted him. Mr. Dominic! She ran before June could stop her. Dominic froze for half a second as if no child had ever run toward him simply because she wanted to. Then Lily lifted both arms. He picked her up awkwardly at first, then better when she settled against him with full confidence. I found a bug, she announced. I heard. He has a shiny back, important quality. Do you like bugs? No. She considered him. You can learn. From the kitchen window, Ruth watched with a cup of coffee in her hand. Cora watched from the studio above. Dominic felt her gaze before he saw her. He looked up. She stood behind the glass still as a figure in one of his mother's paintings. Paint marked one cheek. Her hair was tied back poorly. She looked tired and alive and angry enough to keep breathing by force. Lily patted his shoulder. "Mommy paints too much." Dominic did not look away from the window. "Yes," he said. "She does. Can we play?" He looked at the child. "With the bug." "No. With water." 10 minutes later, Dominic Kane, who had made grown men stammer in city courtrooms and port offices, was standing in his own garden while a 4-year-old chased him with a plastic water gun June had apparently found in a storage closet. Lily shrieked with laughter. Dominic let her hit his sleeve, then his shoulder, then, when she got bold, directly in the face. He stopped. Water dripped from his lashes. Lily went silent for one horrified second. Then Dominic wiped his face with the back of his hand and said very seriously, "That was an act of war." Lily screamed and ran. Cora came down the terrace steps before she had decided to move. "Lily." "Enough!" Lily stopped still, laughing. "But Mommy, he is losing." Dominic stood near the fountain shirt, wet at the collar, looking almost amused. "She is not wrong." Cora shot him a look. "You are not helping. I was not trying to. That is usually when you are most dangerous." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "She was playing. She is getting attached." Dominic's expression changed. "To water guns. To you." The words sat between them. Lily had already run to June to show off her victory, leaving Cora and Dominic near the garden path with the ocean wind moving through the hedges. Dominic looked toward Lily. "Is that a crime?" Cora's answer came too fast. "With men like you? Yes." His eyes returned to hers. "Men like me. You take things. You keep them. You call it protection when it suits you and power when it does not." Dominic stepped closer. "Nobody in this house has hurt her. You keep saying that like it erases how we got here. It does not erase it. Then stop asking me to act like it does." A faint streak of blue marked the line of Cora's jaw. Dominic noticed it because he noticed too much about her. He lifted his hand before judgment caught up with instinct. His thumb brushed the paint from her skin. Cora went completely still. The touch was light. That made it worse. His eyes stayed on hers. "You have paint everywhere." Her breath changed. He heard it. Then she pulled away. "Do not." Dominic's hand dropped. For 1 second, something raw moved between them, something neither had invited and neither could blame on fear. Cora stepped back. "I am not one of your paintings, Dominic. You do not get to study me until I make sense." His gaze darkened. "No," he said. "You make less sense the longer I look." The honesty startled her. She turned away, but he caught her wrist. Not hard. Just enough. She looked down at his hand. "Let go." He did. Immediately. That changed the shape of the silence. Cora looked at him, and for the first time her anger had nowhere clean to land. Then Lily called from the lawn. "Mommy Rabbit wants pancakes for dinner." Cora stepped away. "Rabbit has terrible judgment." Dominic watched her cross the grass to her daughter. Ruth's voice came from behind him. "You are making this worse." Dominic did not turn. "That is your opinion. It is my observation. She is Whitaker's daughter." Ruth inhaled sharply. Dominic looked back then. "You did not know." Ruth's face closed. "No, she did. Perhaps she had reason not to tell you." Dominic's jaw tightened. Ruth stepped beside him, looking out at Cora and Lily. "Harlan Whitaker destroys what he cannot own. If that girl ran from him, she has already survived more than you know." Dominic said nothing. Ruth's voice softened. "Do not become another house she has to escape." That night, Cora could not sleep. The blue was still wrong. Dominic's thumb on her jaw was also wrong. Both facts irritated her equally. She waited until Lily was deep asleep, then slipped from the room in a cotton nightgown and bare feet. The hallway was dark, lit only by moonlight through tall windows. The house made small sounds around her, wood settling, wind pressing against glass, distant waves striking stone. The studio door was open. Cora entered and turned on a single work lamp. The painting waited. The woman's shape had begun to emerge. The child's hand was not yet right. The shadows were too blunt. And the blue, the impossible blue, sat dead beneath everything. You need lead white under it. Cora spun around. Dominic sat on the floor in the corner, back against the wall, one knee raised, a glass untouched beside him. She pressed a hand to her chest. Do you live in shadows? Sometimes? What are you doing here, looking at my mother's ghosts? That answer took some of the anger from her. Only some. She turned back to the canvas. You scared me. I know. No apology. I am considering one. Despite herself, her mouth almost moved. She picked up a brush instead. Lead white will muddy it. Not if you use less than you want. Cora looked over her shoulder. You speak like someone who has painted. My mother believed every child should know how to mix color before learning to lie. And did it work? No. I became excellent at both. The room went quiet. Dominic rose and came to stand beside her. He was close enough that she could feel the warmth from his body, but he did not touch her. Cora stared at the canvas. She painted this before you were born? Yes. Then why does it matter so much to you? Dominic's eyes stayed on the blue. Because Harlan kept it. That is not an answer. It is the only one I have tonight. Cora faced him. Did she love him? Dominic's expression hardened. No. Did he love her? He loved the idea that she might have chosen him. Cora swallowed. That sounded like Harlan. Dominic saw the confirmation in her face. You are his daughter. Cora closed her eyes. There was no point denying it now. When she opened them, Dominic was watching her as if the answer had wounded him. I did not choose him, she said. Dominic's voice was quieter. I know. You do not know anything. I know what it looks like to carry a family name like a bruise. Cora looked away first. For a while, neither spoke. Then Dominic said, There is a dinner tomorrow night. Whitaker will be there. Cora turned back sharply. No. I need you with me. No. Cora. No. The word was not loud. It did not need to be. It was a door closing. Dominic stepped closer. Most people stop at the second no. Then most people are easier to scare. His eyes moved over her face in the dim worklight. You are the only person in this house who says no to me. Cora's throat tightened. Good. His hand rose slowly, giving her time to move away. She did not. His fingers touched beneath her chin, lifting it just enough that her eyes met his fully. The gesture should have made her furious. It did. But something else came with it, something warm and dangerous that moved beneath her ribs. Dominic leaned closer. I haven't decided if I like that. His mouth was near enough for her to feel the words. Cora's heart beat once hard. Decide from farther away. For a second he did not move. Then he released her. Wear the black dress. She laughed under her breath. You hear no and translate it badly. I hear fear and translate it accurately. She stepped around him and walked to the door. At the threshold she stopped. My father does not get to see me afraid. Dominic looked at her across the studio. Then do not be. The next evening, Cora came down the stairs in a black dress June had left on the bed. She wore her white sneakers. Dominic was adjusting his cufflinks in the front hall mirror when he saw her reflection. His hand stilled. The dress was simple. Soft black fabric, narrow straps falling just below the knee. Her hair was loose around her shoulders. The sneakers should have ruined it. They did not. They made her look like herself. Dominic turned. Cora lifted one shoulder. "This is as obedient as I get." His gaze dropped to the shoes, then returned to her face. "It works." The words were low enough to feel private. Before she could answer, Lily ran from the sitting room and wrapped her arms around Cora's legs. "Mommy, you look like a movie." Cora crouched and kissed her forehead. "Thank you, Bug." Lily turned to Dominic and studied him with equal seriousness. "You look like the bad man in a movie." Cora choked on a laugh. Dominic bent slightly. "Is he handsome?" Lily nodded. "But still bad." Dominic looked at Cora. "Fair review." June appeared to take Lily's hand, but Lily reached for Dominic first. He lifted her without thinking this time. The ease of it made Cora look away. Ruth stood near the doorway watching all three of them. Her face gave nothing. Her eyes gave too much. At the fundraiser downtown, old money filled a private dining room above a historic museum. Silver forks, white flowers, men speaking softly about politics, shipping donations, judges' ports, women watching more than they said. Dominic kept Cora's hand at the small of his arm. Not gripping, guiding, owning enough for everyone to notice. Cora leaned toward him. "If you introduce me as your girlfriend, I will stab you with a dessert fork." Dominic did not look down. "Art consultant. That is almost worse. Less paperwork." She hated that she almost smiled. Then the room changed. People straightened, voices softened. A man entered in a charcoal suit with silver hair, pale eyes, and the smooth, gentle smile Cora had once feared more than shouting. Harlan Whitaker. Her father looked exactly the same. That felt cruel. His eyes found Dominic first, then Cora. The smile deepened. "Cora." Dominic's body went still beside her. Harlan approached slowly as if he had all the time in the world and had purchased the rest. "My dear girl," he said, "you did not tell Mr. Kane you were family." Cora could hear her own pulse. Dominic looked down at her. Not angry yet. Worse. Quiet. Harlan held out his hand as if welcoming her home. Cora did not take it. Her voice came out steady. "Hello, Harlan." For the first time all night, Dominic's hand left her back. The absence felt colder than it should have. Harlan noticed. Of course he did. He smiled at Dominic. "Careful with this one, Kane. My daughter has always had a talent for running from houses that loved her." Cora looked at him. "No," she said softly. "Only houses that locked the doors." The room around them continued glittering, pretending not to listen. Dominic stared at Cora as the truth settled fully between them. The woman he had brought into his house. The woman painting his mother's lost work. The woman his enemy had made and wounded. Cora Bennett was not a loose end in his war with Harlan Whitaker. She was the line running straight through the center of it. Dominic did not speak to her in the car. That should have made the ride easier. It did not. Charleston blurred beyond the window in strokes of gold and black streetlights slipping across the glass rain gathering in thin silver lines. Cora sat with her hands folded in her lap, fingers still cold from the way Harlan had said her name in that room full of polished monsters. My dear girl. As if she had ever been dear to him. As if a child could be kept behind locked doors, corrected into silence, watched like an investment, and still owe tenderness to the man who paid for the roof. Dominic sat beside her, not across from her this time. He looked forward. His jaw was hard enough to cut glass. The silence around him did not feel empty. It felt loaded. Cora stared at his reflection in the window. "Say it." Dominic did not move. "Say what?" "Whatever you have been sharpening in your head since we left." His eyes shifted to her reflection. "You are Harlan Whitaker's daughter. I noticed. You knew he had the painting. I knew he had a painting. Do not do that." She turned toward him. "Do what cut the truth into smaller pieces so it looks less like a lie." Cora laughed once, quiet and bitter. "That is rich coming from you." Dominic finally looked at her. The anger in his eyes was not loud. It did not need to be. It sat there, controlled and bright. "You let me bring you into my house while you knew you were connected to him. You brought me into your house before I could let you do anything. You knew. And you used my daughter to get me into your car." The driver kept his eyes on the road. The partition was up, but Cora had no doubt he could feel the temperature drop. Dominic's voice lowered. "I protected your daughter. You also threatened the only thing I love. Men like you always want credit for stopping the fire after you hand someone the match." His face hardened. "Careful." Cora leaned closer. "No. I am done being careful with you. You want the truth? Fine. Harlan Whitaker is my father. Not in any way that matters. Not in any way that makes me his. My mother worked for him. He kept her close, kept her quiet, kept her dependent. Then he kept me like proof he could own what she left behind." Dominic's anger shifted. It did not vanish, but it lost its aim. Cora looked back out the window. "I left when I was pregnant. I had one suitcase and $43. He offered to fix everything if I came home and gave him my child to raise properly. That was the word he used. Properly." Dominic said nothing. His silence changed again. Cora swallowed. "So no, Dominic. I did not tell you. Because men who hate Harlan Whitaker do not hear daughter. They hear weakness, leverage, access, and I have been those things enough." The car rolled through the gates of Blackwater House. By the time the SUV stopped, Cora had no more words left in her. She opened the door before the driver could and stepped into the night. Dominic followed her into the house. The front hall was quiet. June had taken Lily upstairs. Ruth stood near the staircase in a dark robe, one hand resting on the banister. She saw both their faces. "Ah," Ruth said softly. "So the dinner went badly." Cora walked past her. Dominic's voice followed. "Cora." She stopped but did not turn. "Tomorrow morning, studio." She looked over her shoulder. "You still want the painting?" His eyes held hers. "Yes." Something in her chest closed. For one stupid, dangerous second at the fundraiser, she had thought the truth might matter more than his revenge. It did not. Of course it did not. She nodded once. "Then we both know where we stand." Upstairs, Lily was asleep on her new bed, one cheek pressed into the pillow, rabbit tucked beneath her arm. The room smelled faintly of lavender soap and clean sheets. A nightlight shaped like a moon glowed near the dresser. Cora stood in the doorway for a long time. This was what frightened her most about Blackwater House. Not Dominic's men, not the locked gates, not the secrets buried in the walls. It was this: the way safety could be staged so beautifully that a child began to believe in it. Cora crossed the room and sat on the edge of Lily's bed. Lily stirred. "Mommy, I'm here." "Did you see the bad movie man?" Cora gave a tired smile. "Yes, baby." "Was he bad?" Cora brushed a curl from her daughter's forehead. "I don't know." Lily's eyes drifted shut again. "He made pancakes." "That does not prove anything." "Yes, it does," Lily murmured, already falling back asleep. Cora sat there until the night grew thin. When morning came, the studio waited like a courtroom. The mounted print of the 10th Vera Wren stood beside the easel. The unfinished reproduction had begun to breathe now. Dominic had been right about the blue, which irritated her every time she looked at it. A thin underlayer of lead white had changed everything. The night around the running woman no longer sat on the canvas. It seemed to move behind her. Dominic was already there. He wore a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up and dark trousers. No jacket, no tie. He looked less like a crime boss and more like a man who had forgotten to sleep. Cora entered without greeting him. Lily was with June in the garden. Cora had checked twice. Dominic watched her pick up a brush. "When were you going to tell me? When were you going to let me leave?" His mouth tightened. "That is not the same thing. It is from where I'm standing." She mixed a thin wash and touched it to the edge of the child's coat in the painting. Dominic came closer. "You know his house." Cora kept painting. "I know many houses. You know where the painting hangs." The brush stopped. There it was. The real question. Not, are you all right? Not, what did he do to you? Not, what did it cost to stand in that room and have him call you daughter in front of strangers? Where is the painting? Cora looked at him slowly. In the upstairs gallery. East wall. He keeps it under museum glass with motion sensors and private security. There are 2 cameras visible and 1 hidden in the molding above the door. The room locks from the outside during events. Dominic's gaze sharpened. "You remember all that I grew up memorizing exits." The sentence made the room go quiet. Dominic looked as if he wanted to say something, but whatever it was, pride or guilt or strategy got in the way. Cora turned back to the canvas. "You do not need me to tell you how to steal it." "No, then why ask?" "Because I need you to get close enough to replace it." Cora laughed under her breath. "There he is. Cora. No, let me enjoy the clarity. Let me enjoy the, you need the daughter of your enemy to walk back into the house she escaped. Smile for the cameras and help you take your mother's painting." Dominic's voice stayed even. "I need the only person who can create a replacement good enough to survive the first glance. First glance, Harlan will not let experts near it. He trusts possession more than truth." Cora looked at the painting on her easel, the woman running, the child beside her. She thought of her own mother standing in Harlan's hallway with one hand pressed against the wall, breathing carefully after a door closed too hard. She thought of Lily sleeping in a bed bought by another dangerous man. She dipped the brush into darker pigment. "How much of your life have you spent trying to take that painting back?" Dominic answered after a long pause. "Most of it." "And after you get it?" He did not answer. Cora nodded. "That is what I thought." Dominic stepped closer. "What does that mean?" "It means revenge is a room with no furniture. Men spend years trying to get inside, then act surprised when there is nowhere to sit." His eyes darkened. "You think you understand what he took from me? No. I think I understand what men become when they build a whole life around taking something back." The brush moved across the canvas. Dominic watched her hand. "My mother died with her work scattered hidden, bought by men who liked owning the pain of women they never listened to." Cora's voice softened despite herself. "And my mother died in a house where everything looked expensive and nothing felt safe." Their eyes met. For once, the space between them was not a fight. It was recognition. 2 children of locked rooms. 2 survivors carrying different names for the same kind of damage. Dominic looked away first. "I will not let Harlan keep it." Cora returned to the painting. "And I will not let either of you use my daughter as the reason I obey." The day passed inside layers of paint. Cora worked until her shoulders burned and her hand cramped. She mixed shadows until they looked like memory, She aged the surface. She copied cracks that did not exist in the photograph but lived in her mind from childhood. By late afternoon, the painting had become dangerous. Even Dominic stopped moving when he saw it. Cora felt him behind her. "It is not finished," she said. "I did not say anything. You were about to breathe like a man who thinks he owns it." A quiet sound left him, almost a laugh. Cora turned too quickly and found him closer than she expected. Paint marked her wrist. A loose strand of hair had fallen across her cheek. Dominic lifted his hand, then stopped before touching her. That restraint did more damage than the touch would have. Cora saw it, saw the choice, saw the effort. Her voice lowered. "What are you doing to me?" Dominic's eyes stayed on hers. "I was going to ask you the same thing." Neither moved. The studio light had gone warm with evening. Outside, the ocean turned black at the edges. Somewhere down the hall, Lily laughed at something June said. That sound saved them, or ruined them. Cora stepped back. "Don't." Dominic's jaw tightened. "Because you do not want me." The honest answer rose before she could kill it. "Because I do." The words struck both of them. Cora turned away before his face could make her weaker. "Leave." For a moment he did not move. Then his footsteps crossed the room and faded into the hall. Cora pressed both hands to the work table and closed her eyes. That night, a black envelope arrived. June found it tucked beneath the front gate camera delivered by a courier who had vanished before security reached the drive. It was addressed to Cora in handwriting she knew before she touched it. She opened it in the bathroom with the door locked. Inside was a photograph. Lily at a playground. Not recent. Months old. Her yellow jacket. Her pink shoes. Rabbit under her arm. Cora remembered that day. She had been sitting 3 feet away on a bench checking her phone for a message from a landlord who wanted money she did not have. On the back of the photograph were 5 words. "Come home alone, Cora." She sat on the closed toilet seat until the walls steadied. Harlan had been watching before Dominic ever found her. Of course he had. A second note was folded behind the photograph. "Tomorrow, noon, your mother's room." Cora did not tell Dominic. At 11 the next morning, she left Lily with June, told the guard at the side entrance she needed air, and walked into the garden. The hedges hid the narrow service path that ran along the cliff road. She had noticed it 2 days ago. Dominic's men were trained to watch gates. Cora had been trained by fear to watch gaps. A black town car waited beyond the bend. The driver did not speak. Harlan's house stood on the Battery, all white columns and black shutters polished until it looked innocent. Cora had once believed houses could be ashamed. This one had never learned how. A maid opened the door. No one searched Cora. That was Harlan's first mistake. He liked people to feel expected. It made the trap seem polite. Her mother's room had been converted into a sitting room after Elise died. Pale blue walls, white curtains, fresh flowers on the table. None of her mother's things remained except the light. The room still received morning sun the same way, gentle and unforgiving. Harlan stood by the window. "Cora." She stopped near the door. "Harlan." His smile thinned. "I gave you my name once." "No. You gave me money and silence. I kept my mother's name." He turned from the window. Age had not softened him. It had only refined the cruelty, made it less eager and more practiced. "You have placed yourself in a dangerous situation. I was born in one." His eyes moved over her face. "Dominic Kane is using you. So are you. Not if you come home." Cora almost smiled. There it is, still calling cages home. Harlan walked to a small table and poured tea as if they were having a family visit. Cain wants what belongs to me. The painting never belonged to you. It has hung in this house for 20 years. So did my mother. His hand paused for the smallest second. Then he set the teapot down. You were always dramatic. No, I was always paying attention. Harlan faced her fully. I know he is having you paint a copy. Give it to me. Cora said nothing. He plans to replace my painting with yours. I will allow him to think he has succeeded. You will bring me the copy before the event. In return, I will leave your daughter untouched. The room tilted around her. Cora kept her face still. You threaten children now. Harlan's expression remained mild. I protect my family interests. I am not your family. Lily is my blood. Cora's voice came out cold. If you say her name again, I will break that cup and put it in your throat. For the first time, real anger touched his eyes. There she was, the child in him who hated being denied. Cora recognized that child. She had grown up surviving him. Harlan stepped closer. You forget yourself. No, Cora said. I remembered. She left with his offer in her pocket and rage under her skin. Back at Blackwater House, Dominic was waiting in the front hall. Cora knew from his face that he knew she had gone. The guards did not meet her eyes. Dominic dismissed them with one glance. The hall emptied. Where were you? Cora took off her coat. Out. His voice was quiet. Try again. No. Dominic crossed the distance between them. You went to him. Yes. The answer hit him harder than a lie would have. Why? Because he sent me a photograph of Lily. Dominic went still. Cora pulled it from her pocket and held it out. He took it. The change in his face was frightening because it was almost nothing. Only his eyes went empty. When months ago, Dominic stared at the image. I asked you why you went, and I told you. You should have come to me. Cora laughed. For what permission to be afraid? His eyes lifted. For protection. I have protected myself from Harlan longer than you have hated him. Dominic stepped closer. And how well did that work today? Cora's hand flew before thought arrived. The slap cracked through the hall. Dominic did not stop her. He did not touch his face. Cora's eyes burned. Do not confuse being trapped with being weak. Dominic looked at her for a long second. Then he said, I do not. The softness of it nearly broke her. She turned away. I need to work. In the studio, Cora began the second painting. Not where Dominic could see. Not where anyone could see. Behind a locked storage room off the east wing under a covered lamp, she stretched another canvas and started again. One painting for Dominic. One painting for Harlan. Neither would be the truth. The truth required a third plan. Cora worked like a woman cutting her way out of a wall. Dominic's copy would be brilliant, convincing, powerful enough to fool a room hungry to believe in victory. Harlan's copy would be colder, more exact, too perfect in the places pride looked first. Both would have flaws, not visible flaws, not mistakes. Signatures of betrayal so small only Cora would know where to find them. A shadow bent 1 degree wrong. A line of gold too thin beneath the child's sleeve. A layer of blue missing the breath of lead beneath it. Then hidden inside the stretcher frame of Dominic's copy, she built a narrow compartment. A place just large enough to hold a rolled canvas. Her hands did not shake while she made it. That surprised her. Near dawn, Ruth found her in the storage room. The older woman stood in the doorway, wrapped in a gray robe. Cora froze. Ruth looked at the second canvas, then at the hidden frame, then at Cora. "You are either very foolish," Ruth said, "or very tired of being underestimated." Cora wiped her hands on a cloth. "Are you going to tell him?" Ruth stepped inside and closed the door behind her. "My grandson believes strategy is something men invented because they dislike admitting women have survived them for centuries." Cora stared at her. Ruth moved closer to the painting. "This one is not for Dominic." "No, for Harlan." Cora did not answer. Ruth studied the running woman. "My daughter painted that before she married into the Kane family. Before Dominic. Before all this blood disguised as legacy." Her voice thinned. "I used to think she painted herself running away." Cora looked at the canvas, and now Ruth's eyes moved to Cora. "Now I think she painted every woman who waited too long." The words settled between them. Cora swallowed. "I need to get into Harlan's gallery." Ruth nodded once. "There is a museum fundraiser at his house in 2 nights. Dominic already planned to attend." "Of course he did." "He thinks he is prepared." Cora looked at the hidden compartment. "He is not." Ruth's mouth curved faintly. "No man ever is." By the time Dominic saw the finished copy the next evening, Cora had not slept in 30 hours. The painting stood on the easel beneath clean light. The running woman looked as if she might vanish if anyone blinked. The child's hand held her wrist with desperate trust. The shadows crossed the street like a sentence passed by a cruel judge. Dominic entered and stopped. Cora stood beside the work table, arms folded, face pale with exhaustion. He walked closer, slowly. For once, he did not look at her first. He looked at the painting. His throat moved. Cora saw the boy in him then. Not the boss, not the criminal. The boy who had lost his mother and spent years collecting pieces of her from walls that did not deserve them. "It is perfect," he said. Cora's chest hurt. "No." Dominic turned. She looked at the painting, then at him. "It is useful." He studied her face. Something in his eyes sharpened with suspicion. But before he could speak, Lily appeared in the doorway holding Rabbit by one ear. "Mommy, are you done painting?" The running lady Cora's expression softened instantly. "Yes, baby." Lily walked in and looked at the canvas. She looked scared. Cora knelt beside her. "Maybe." Lily leaned against her shoulder. "But she has the little girl." Cora closed her eyes. "Yes." Dominic watched them. The room seemed to turn around that small truth. The woman had the child. The child had the woman. Maybe that had always been the only escape that mattered. Lily looked up at Dominic. "Are you coming to dinner?" Dominic's gaze moved from the painting to Cora, then back to Lily. "Yes." At dinner, no one spoke much. June served roast chicken and potatoes. Ruth drank red wine and watched everyone too closely. Lily told a long story about Pancake the wooden horse getting married to a spoon. Dominic listened as if it were a matter of state security. Cora watched him without meaning to. He caught her once. Neither looked away quickly enough. After Lily fell asleep, Cora found Dominic on the terrace. The ocean was black below. Wind moved through the palms. He stood with both hands on the stone rail. His sleeves rolled, his head lowered. She stopped beside him. For a while they only listened to the water. Then he said, "I found out about Lily's father." Cora's body went still. Dominic continued, voice low. "Harlan paid him to leave before she was born." Cora looked out at the ocean. "I know." Dominic turned. "You know, he came to me with a new watch, new shoes, and a story about how he was not ready. People think cowardice looks messy. Sometimes it looks freshly paid." Dominic's hand closed around the stone rail. "I can find him." "Don't. He took money to abandon you. And I got Lily. That was the better deal." Dominic looked at her for a long moment. "You should have had someone." Cora's voice softened. I did. Who? She turned toward the house where Lily slept somewhere beyond the warm windows. Her. Dominic said nothing. Cora looked back at him. You think revenge will give your mother back? His eyes hardened slightly. I know it will not. Do you? He stepped closer. Do not mistake obsession for ignorance. Then do not mistake possession for peace. The wind moved between them. Dominic reached for her, slowly giving her every chance to move away. This time Cora did not. His fingers brushed her cheek, then slid into her hair. The touch was careful, almost reverent, and that was what undid her. He lowered his mouth to hers. The kiss was not gentle for long. Cora gripped his shirt as if she meant to push him away, and pulled him closer instead. The taste of him was rain whiskey and danger. His hand settled at her waist, firm, but waiting, always waiting now, as if he had finally learned the shape of a line he could not cross unless she moved first. She hated him a little for that. She loved him a little for it, too. That was what made her stop. She broke the kiss and stepped back, breathing hard. Dominic's eyes searched her face. Cora. She shook her head. No. His expression changed at the word. Not anger. Pain. She said it again, softer. No. Dominic let his hand fall. This time he did not argue. Cora walked back inside before she could choose the wrong kind of safety. In her room, she sat beside Lily's bed and watched her daughter sleep. Then she pulled Harlan's note from her pocket. The fundraiser was in 2 nights. Dominic thought he was going to take back his mother's painting. Harlan thought he was going to trap Dominic with a fake. Both men thought Cora Bennett was the hand holding the brush. Neither understood she was the one choosing where the painting would hang when the lights went out. By the night of Harlan Whitaker's fundraiser, Cora had learned that fear could become quiet when it had enough work to do. It did not disappear. It simply stopped screaming. It sat behind her ribs while June buttoned the back of her dark green dress. It sat in her hands while Ruth fastened a pair of pearl earrings at her ears. It sat in her throat when Lily climbed onto the bed and looked at her with wide, solemn eyes. You look like a princess again, Lily said. Cora turned from the mirror and smiled. Do I? Lily nodded. But not the sleepy kind. Ruth stood behind Cora, her face unreadable in the mirror. No, Ruth said. Not the sleepy kind. June smoothed the fabric over Cora's shoulders. The dress was not black this time. Cora had refused black. She had worn too much of other people's mourning already. The green was deep and soft, the color of old gardens after rain. Ruth had chosen it without explanation, then left it on the bed like an answer Cora had not asked for. Cora looked at herself in the mirror. For a second, she did not see Harlan's daughter. She did not see Dominic's painter. She did not see the girl who had run from a white house with one suitcase and a life growing inside her. She saw a woman about to walk back into the place that had taught her silence and bring a storm through the front door. Lily crawled across the bed and touched the skirt. Can I come? Cora's smile almost broke. No, baby. But Mr. Dominic is going. Yes. Is he going to be bad? Cora looked toward the open door. Dominic stood in the hallway. He wore a black suit, white shirt, no tie. His hair was combed back, but one piece had fallen loose near his forehead. He looked like every whisper Charleston had ever spoken about him had dressed itself in human skin. His eyes were on Cora. Then he looked at Lily. I am going to behave. Lily narrowed her eyes. Promise. Dominic stepped into the room and crouched in front of her. I promise you. Lily studied him for a long second, then held up Rabbit. Promise him too. Dominic accepted the stuffed rabbit with a seriousness that made June turn away to hide a smile. I promise, Rabbit. Lily seemed satisfied. Cora was not. Dominic handed Rabbit back and rose. His gaze met Cora's in the mirror. There was too much between them now. Too many almosts. Too many lies that were not quite lies. Too many truths neither of them knew how to hold without cutting themselves. He looked at the hidden line of tension in her shoulders. "You do not have to do this." Cora turned. "Yes, I do. No, you do not." She let the silence sit. Dominic understood a moment later. He had finally said the one thing she had needed to hear before it could mean anything. "You do not have to." Cora picked up her small evening bag from the bed. Inside it was lipstick, a compact mirror, a folded tissue, and a thin blade Ruth had pressed into her palm earlier without comment. "You are late," Ruth said. Dominic looked at her. "Grandmother." Ruth adjusted one of Cora's earrings, though it did not need adjusting. "Bring her home as herself, not as part of your war." Dominic said nothing. Cora touched Lily's cheek, kissed her forehead, then forced herself to leave before her courage learned the shape of her daughter's arms and refused to move. The drive to Harlan's house was smooth and silent. Cora sat beside Dominic in the back seat. Between them, wrapped in brown paper and sealed in a climate case, lay the painting Dominic believed was his perfect copy. Inside its stretcher frame was the hidden compartment Cora had built with her own hands. Empty for now. Waiting. Dominic glanced at her. "You are too calm." Cora kept her eyes on the window. "I am not calm. You look calm. I learned from dangerous men." His mouth tightened. The city lights slid over his face. "Miles will handle the cameras." "Of course." Ruth arranged the catering staff change. "Of course she did. Once the lights flicker, we will have 90 seconds. Cora turned then. Dominic's eyes stayed on hers. "I am not sending you into that gallery alone. You brought me into this because you needed my hands. I am going in because I need you out." The words landed in a place she did not want opened. Cora looked away first. Outside Harlan's house appeared at the end of the street. White columns, black shutters, warm windows, the same clean lie it had always told the world. Cora felt her lungs remember how small they had once become in that house. Dominic noticed her fingers tighten around the edge of her bag. His hand moved toward hers, then stopped before touching. That restraint had become its own language between them. Cora looked at his hand. Then, because it was her choice, she placed her fingers over his for one breath. Only one. Then she let go. The car stopped. Harlan Whitaker's fundraiser was already in motion by the time they entered. Music drifted through the marble foyer. Violin, piano. Something soft enough to make expensive cruelty feel civilized. Guests moved through the rooms with champagne glasses and careful smiles. Museum donors, councilmen, judges, harbor investors, men who had delayed Dominic's shipments, and women who knew exactly which husbands not to ask too many questions. Cora walked beside Dominic with her head high. The first few people looked at Dominic. Then they looked at her. Then they remembered Harlan's words from the last dinner. "My daughter." Whispers moved lightly through the room. Cora did not turn toward them. Harlan stood near the entrance to the main gallery, greeting guests beneath a chandelier. When he saw her, his smile warmed like a lamp turned on for company. "Cora." She stopped before him. "Harlan." His eyes moved to Dominic. "Kane." Dominic's answer was barely a nod. Harlan looked at the climate case carried by one of Dominic's men. "I assume that is your contribution to the evening?" Dominic smiled without warmth. "I know how much you appreciate fine work." Cora felt Harlan's gaze shift back to her. "And you, my dear, have you been working?" Cora held his eyes. "Harder than you ever wanted me to." His smile thinned. Only she noticed. That pleased her. The gallery doors opened. The 10th Vera Wren hung on the east wall beneath a shield of museum glass. Cora saw it and the room fell away. The original. Not a photograph, not a memory, not her copy, not the version her frightened child self had turned into a lifeline. The real thing. The blue was deeper than she remembered, more wounded than any pigment had a right to be. The running woman was not graceful. She was desperate. One shoulder twisted back toward the child, her hand locked around that small wrist, her whole body divided between escape and terror. The child was smaller than Cora had remembered. That hurt. As a girl, Cora had made the child brave in her mind. Standing before the painting now, she saw the truth. The child was being pulled into freedom before she understood what it would cost. Dominic stood beside her. His breath changed. She did not look at him. She did not need to. He had waited most of his life for this wall. Harlan watched both of them. Possession had made him patient. That was his mistake. A curator approached with white gloves and an eager smile. Dominic's man placed the climate case on a velvet-covered table. The room gathered closer as Harlan announced a private viewing, his voice smooth and generous. "Tonight we celebrate preservation," Harlan said. "Art survives because responsible hands protect it from chaos." Cora almost laughed. Dominic looked at the painting. Cora looked at the wall. Visible camera above the door, one in the corner. Hidden camera in the molding exactly where she remembered. Motion sensor beneath the glass. Pressure alarm behind the frame. 2 guards inside, 1 outside. Dominic's plan would work. For 90 seconds. Harlan's plan would also work. For the people who believed there were only 2 players in the room. Cora touched the pearl earring at her left ear. Across the room, Ruth saw the signal. The first flicker of lights came 30 seconds later. A murmur moved through the guests. The chandelier dimmed, brightened, dimmed again. A waiter stumbled near the gallery entrance tray, tilting champagne spilling across the shoes of a councilman who yelped as if wounded in battle. People turned. Security shifted. Miles appeared beside the hidden camera panel with the calm face of a man checking an electrical fault. Dominic moved. Cora moved with him. The museum glass unlocked with a soft click. Miles had done his part. Dominic lifted the frame from the wall with gloved hands while Cora opened the climate case. Everything narrowed to breath-timing wait. Dominic slid what he believed was the original into the case. Cora lifted the copy from the case and placed it beneath the glass. 90 seconds. Less. The lights flickered again. A woman laughed nervously. Harlan watched from near the doorway, his expression unreadable. Too unreadable. Cora knew that face. He knew. Or thought he did. She let Dominic close the case. She let him believe the swap was complete. Then, as Miles stepped in front of the wall to reset the glass, Cora touched the frame of the newly hung copy and pressed the narrow release inside the lower right corner. A slit opened in the backing. Tiny. Invisible unless someone knew where to feel. Earlier that afternoon, Ruth's catering contact had brought Harlan's duplicate into the house inside a floral delivery crate. It was hidden now behind the velvet drape under the viewing table exactly where Cora had arranged. Cora moved like she was smoothing the cloth. Her hand slid beneath. Canvas met her fingers, rolled, thin, waiting. She slipped the rolled duplicate into Dominic's hidden frame. Then, when the final blackout struck just 3 seconds of full darkness, she did the real work. The original came out of Dominic's case. The real canvas separated from its outer frame with the small blade Ruth had given her. Cora rolled it once tight and clean, wrapped it in the silk lining of her evening bag, and slid it into the concealed inner sleeve she had sewn herself. When the lights returned, Dominic held a case containing Harlan's copy. Harlan's wall held Dominic's copy, and the true painting rested against Cora's body, close enough for her to feel its shape when she breathed. The guests applauded when the lights stabilized, embarrassed by their own unease and eager to pretend nothing had happened. Harlan smiled. Dominic's eyes found Cora. For a moment she thought he knew. Then one of Harlan's guards whispered into Harlan's ear. His smile did not fall. It died slowly. Cora turned toward the doors. She made it halfway down the corridor before Harlan's voice followed her. Cora. She stopped. Dominic turned too. Harlan did not look at him. Not you, Kane. My daughter and I require a private word. Dominic stepped closer. No. Cora placed a hand on his arm. He looked down at it. She felt the muscle beneath her fingers tense and ready. I can handle him. Dominic's eyes searched hers. Cora said softly, You promised Rabbit you would behave. Something painful crossed his face. Then he stepped back. Harlan led her upstairs, not to the sitting room, not to the formal study, to the old gallery, the room where Cora had hidden as a child. It was smaller than she remembered. That was almost insulting. Her fear had made it enormous for years. In truth, it was just a room with polished floors, pale walls, and windows that looked toward the water. Harlan closed the door. No guests, no music, no audience. His mask fell. What did you do? Cora stood near the center of the room. I came home like you asked. Do not play with me. I learned from the best. Harlan crossed the room in 2 controlled steps. You think Dominic Kane will protect you? No. That stopped him. Cora looked at him calmly. I think Dominic Kane protects what he believes is his. That is different. Harlan's eyes narrowed. And are you his? Cora's answer was quiet. I am mine. He stared at her, and for the first time in her life she saw it clearly. Harlan was not large. He was not a monster from a child's nightmare. He was an aging man in an expensive suit who had spent decades arranging the world so no one would notice how empty his hands were. You have always mistaken defiance for strength, he said. No, Cora answered. You have always mistaken obedience for love. His hand moved before his face changed. Cora saw it coming. This time she did not freeze. She stepped back and the slap cut through empty air. The shock in his eyes was almost worth every year she had been afraid of him. The door opened behind him. Dominic stood there with a gun in his hand. No drama, no raised voice, no wasted motion. Only a man who had reached the end of whatever civility he had borrowed for the evening. Try again, Dominic said, and Charleston buries you before sunrise. Harlan turned slowly. You would kill me in my own house. Dominic's eyes were black in the dim room. I would kill you in a church if she asked me to. Cora's breath caught. Harlan smiled. There it was again. The old pleasure. The one he took from proving love could be used against people. Careful, Cora. Men like this do not love. They acquire. Dominic did not look away from Harlan. Cora did. She looked at Dominic, at the gun, at his hand, at the fury he was holding on a leash only because she was in the room. She stepped between them. Dominic's eyes snapped to her. Move. No. The word landed differently now. Not a challenge. A choice. Dominic's jaw tightened. Cora. She held out her hand. Give me the gun. Harlan laughed softly. Dominic did not. For a long second he only looked at her. Then slowly he placed the gun in her palm. Harlan's smile faded. Cora lowered it at once and set it on the table beside her. She turned to her father. I did not come here to let one dangerous man save me from another. Harlan's eyes moved to the gun, then back to her. You stole from me. No, Cora said. You kept something that was never yours. There is a difference. Dominic's face changed. Now he knew. Cora could feel it. Harlan knew too. His gaze dropped to her evening bag. You little thief. Cora smiled then. It was small. It was tired. It was her mother's smile, maybe, the one she might have worn if she had ever gotten far enough to look back. I had a good teacher. Harlan lunged. Dominic moved faster. He caught Harlan by the collar and slammed him back against the wall hard enough to rattle the picture frames. The gun stayed on the table. Cora did not reach for it. Dominic leaned in close. You do not get to touch her. Harlan's breathing turned rough, but his eyes still burned with pride. You came for the painting, he said. Take it. Walk away from my daughter. We both get what we want. Dominic looked at Cora. The room held its breath. Cora opened her bag and withdrew the silk-wrapped roll. Dominic saw it. For 20 years he had wanted what she now held. His mother's first secret. Harlan's stolen trophy. The painting that had taught a little girl how to imagine escape and taught a grown man that grief could be mistaken for purpose. Cora held it out. Dominic did not take it. Harlan gave a broken laugh. There it is, Kane. Your mother. Your vengeance. Everything you built yourself around. Dominic's eyes stayed on the painting. Then he looked at Cora. Her hand trembled now, not from fear, from the weight of being the person who could give him exactly what he wanted and find out whether wanting had ruined him. Dominic turned back to Harlan. My mother was never yours. Harlan's face hardened. She came to me. She ran from you. She trusted me. She painted a woman escaping with a child, Dominic said. What part of that looked like trust? For the first time, Harlan had no answer. Dominic stepped away from him. He looked at Cora and said, Take Lily and go. The words hit her harder than any command. What? His voice was rougher now. Go. Cora shook her head slightly. This is what you wanted. No, Dominic said. This is what I thought would make wanting stop. Harlan sneered. You would choose her over blood. Dominic did not look at him. I am choosing the living. Cora could not move. Dominic came closer but stopped before touching her. You asked me once if you could leave. Her throat tightened. I remember. You can. No condition, no driver waiting to watch, no men at the door, no bargain folded inside mercy, just the open shape of a choice. Cora looked at him, and for the first time since he had entered her apartment, Dominic Kane did not look like a man taking something. He looked like a man letting go of the only thing he did not know how to lose. So Cora left. She walked down the staircase with the true painting in her bag past donors, pretending not to stare past Miles, waiting with murder in his eyes, and questions he did not ask past Ruth at the foot of the stairs. Ruth saw Cora's face. She understood enough. Outside, June waited in the car with Lily asleep in the back seat. Cora climbed in and pulled her daughter into her arms. Lily stirred. Mommy? I'm here. Are we going home? Cora looked back at Harlan's bright white house, then at the dark road ahead. Yes, she whispered. We are. 2 weeks passed. Cora rented a small cottage outside Beaufort with peeling blue shutters, a porch that leaned a little to the left, and a second bedroom just big enough for Lily's bed and all of Rabbit's imaginary friends. The air smelled like marsh grass and salt. The roof needed work. The kitchen sink dripped. The studio faced north. That was enough. Cora put a sign in the front window. Bennett Art Restoration. The first customer was an old woman with a cracked portrait of her husband. The second was a restaurant owner with a damaged landscape. Neither paid much, but both paid her name. Her real name. Lily liked the porch best. She lined her wooden animals along the railing and made Pancake the horse responsible for all household decisions. At night, Cora painted after Lily slept. Not copies, not forgeries. Her own work. She told herself freedom should feel cleaner. It did feel good. It also felt unfinished. Some mornings she woke reaching for a sound she had never heard in that house. Dominic's footsteps in the hallway, Lily laughing in the garden, Ruth's dry voice from the kitchen, the ocean striking stone below Blackwater House. One evening, Lily sat at the kitchen table eating toast with jam and looked at Cora with strawberry on her chin. "Do you miss Mr. Dominic?" Cora kept washing a brush. "Sometimes." Lily nodded. "I miss his pancakes." Cora smiled. Then the smile broke. She turned toward the sink, but Lily had already seen. "Mommy." Cora wiped her cheek with the back of her wrist. "I'm okay, Bug." Lily considered this. "Rabbit says okay, people cry too." Cora laughed through the tears. "Rabbit is getting wise." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Cora took the rolled Vera Wren painting from the hidden panel behind her supply shelf. She unwrapped it on the studio floor. The woman ran beneath the lamplight. The child ran beside her. Cora sat cross-legged before it for a long time. Then she understood why freedom felt unfinished. She had taken the painting because both men wanted it, but it had never belonged to either of them. The next morning, she packed Lily's overnight bag, called June, and drove back toward Charleston. Blackwater House looked the same from the outside. White stone, black roof, Atlantic wind, iron gates opening before she pressed the bell as if the house had been waiting and did not want to admit it. Dominic opened the front door himself. He wore dark trousers and a gray shirt with the sleeves pushed up. No jacket, no armor. His hair was loose. He looked thinner, as if sleep had been coming to the house and leaving when it did not find her there. For a moment, neither spoke. Lily broke first. "Mr. Dominic." She ran to him. Dominic crouched and caught her in his arms. His eyes closed for half a second when she hugged his neck. Cora looked away because the sight did something to her she was not ready to name in front of him. Lily pulled back. "We have a cottage. I heard Rabbit likes it." "Good. But the pancakes are bad." Dominic's mouth moved. "That sounds serious." "It is." June appeared behind him, already crying. Ruth stood farther back in the hall, one hand at her throat, her face composed badly. Cora lifted the wrapped painting. Dominic's gaze moved to it, then back to her. "You kept it?" "Yes." "Why bring it here?" Cora stepped inside. "Because you chose us over it." His voice was low. "I chose you over revenge." Cora held his eyes. I needed to know there was a difference. Dominic looked at the painting for a long moment. Then he took it. Not like a prize, like a burden finally placed in the right hands. They walked together to the terrace at sunset. Ruth followed without being asked. June kept Lily near the doorway. Miles stood in the shadows of the hall, quiet and watchful. Dominic unwrapped the painting on the stone table by the fire pit. The last light touched the canvas. For the first time, Ruth saw her daughter's first Vera Wren in person. A sound left her small and broken. She reached toward it, but stopped before touching. "Evelyn," she whispered. Dominic's face twisted. "Not much. Enough." Cora stood beside him. "This is yours." Dominic looked at the running woman. "No." Ruth turned toward him. "Dominic." He lifted the painting carefully and carried it to the fire pit. Cora understood 1 second before he lowered it toward the flames. She grabbed his arm. "Wait." He stopped. "This is her work." Dominic's eyes shone in the firelight. "No. This is the cage everyone built around her." Ruth covered her mouth. Dominic looked at his grandmother. She painted herself running, and we all turned it into a thing to own." His voice roughened. "Harlan owned it to punish her. I wanted it so I could punish him." Neither of us saw her. Cora's hand loosened on his arm. Dominic looked down at the painting. "My mother wanted freedom. I spent half my life turning her pain into evidence." The fire snapped. The ocean breathed below them. Dominic lowered the canvas into the flames. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one corner blackened. Orange light curled through the blue. The running woman shimmered. The child beside her vanished first, swallowed by heat and color. Ruth made a soft sound and turned into June's arms. Dominic did not look away. Cora stood beside him close enough that their shoulders touched. When the flames reached the woman's coat, Dominic whispered, "Run." The fire took the rest. No one spoke until the canvas was ash. Later, after Lily had fallen asleep in the room that still somehow felt like hers, Cora found Dominic on the terrace. The fire pit had gone dark. The Atlantic was black beneath a sky crowded with stars. Dominic stood at the stone rail, both hands loose at his sides. Cora joined him. For a while they listened to the water. Then he said, "I will not ask you to stay because I can keep you safe." "Good. I will not ask because Lily has a room here. Also good. I will not ask because this house feels less dead when you are in it." Cora looked at him. That one was close. His mouth curved, but the smile did not last. He turned fully toward her. "I love you." The words were simple. No command inside them, no bargain, no threat dressed as need. "I love your daughter," he said. "I love the way she renames everything that stands still long enough. I love that she thinks pancakes are a legal argument." Cora's eyes filled despite herself. Dominic took one step closer. "I love that you tell me no. I love that you mean it. I love that you came back only after you knew you could leave again." Her breath shook. "Dominic." He reached into his pocket and took out a ring. It was not large. It was old gold and simple with a small green stone at the center. "My mother's," he said. Ruth kept it. Cora looked at the ring, then at him. He did not touch her chin. He did not take her hand. He waited. "Cora Bennett," he said, voice rough and steady. At once. "Will you stay because you want to?" The terrace door opened behind them. Lily appeared in pajamas, dragging Rabbit by one ear. "Mommy." Cora laughed through tears. "What are you doing up? I heard talking." Dominic lowered the ring slightly, trying and failing to look composed. Lily looked from him to Cora. "Are we staying for pancakes?" Cora wiped her cheeks. Dominic looked at Lily with grave seriousness. "Only if your mother says yes." Lily turned to Cora. "Say yes." Cora crouched and opened one arm. Lily ran into it. Cora held her daughter close and looked up at Dominic. This man had brought fear to her door. He had also learned to open his hand. He had chosen the living. He had burned the cage. Cora stood with Lily tucked against her side. "Yes," she said. Dominic closed his eyes for one breath. When he opened them, Cora held out her hand. He slid the ring onto her finger. Still waiting. Always waiting now. Cora stepped toward him by choice. She kissed him first. Months later, the studio at Blackwater House no longer held Vera Wren paintings. Ruth had moved the remaining 9 into a foundation under Evelyn Kane's real name. They would be shown publicly for the first time, not as trophies, not as rumors, but as the work of a woman who had lived. Cora painted in the ocean room with the windows open. Lily painted on the floor beside her, purple on both hands. Rabbit seated upright as supervisor. Pancake, the wooden horse, stood on the windowsill watching the sea. Dominic leaned in the doorway with 2 mugs of coffee and 1 glass of milk balanced carefully in his hands. Lily looked up. "Daddy Dominic, don't spill." He froze. Cora's brush stopped. Lily did not notice. She returned to her painting as if she had simply named something obvious. Dominic looked at Cora. There were tears in his eyes before he could hide them. Cora smiled. "Careful," she whispered. Dominic set the drinks down, crossed the room, and kissed her forehead. "I like it," he said. On Cora's easel, a new painting waited in morning light. A woman stood in an open doorway, a little girl beside her. No shadows crossed the floor, no bars, no running. Outside the painted door, the world was bright and unfinished, and this time nobody had to flee to find it.